Okay, question 15. There are 3 cats in your neighborhood. Each day, the number of cats triples. Write an equation to represent the scenario. So we have f of x equals 3 because the starting amount is 3, okay, with our exponential functions. Pretty sure I took the notes actually further down. With question 16, I wrote it. The first number is the initial value. The next number is the constant factor. So let's go back to the cat scenario. So you are starting with 3, and every day it's tripling. Triple means multiply by 3. So f of x equals 3 multiplied by 3 to the x power. How many cats will be in your neighborhood after 12 days? So we put it in the calculator. I don't expect you to multiply by 3 12 times, right? So you put 3 times 3 to the 12th power into your calculator, and you should get 1,594,323. That's how many cats you have in your neighborhood after just 12 days if you start with 3 and it is tripling. Question 16, write an equation for the exponential function below. So if you look at the table, I gave you the initial value, right? When x is 0, f of x is 12, so that gives you your starting amount. And then to get from 12 to 4, well, we have to look for a factor, okay? If it's exponential, we have to look for what did we multiply by. So we're not thinking of we subtracted 8, we're not thinking of we divided by 3, we're thinking of what did we multiply by. Well, dividing by 3 is like multiplying by 1/3. 1/3 of 12 is 4. So our function is f of x equals 12 multiplied by 1/3 to the x power. Write an equation for the next exponential. So here, this was a little bit harder. I gave you the initial value because it says 0, 17. So when x is 0, f of x is 17. But then I didn't go in order. The next pair of values is not the next point on your graph, right? I didn't give you the value when x is 1. I gave you the value when x is 3. So that means we started with 17. We multiplied our factor once to get 1 point. I don't know what that point was. Multiply by that factor again. We don't have that point either. We multiply by the factor a third time and got the output of 459. So 17 times b times b times b is 459. 17 times b to the third power is 459, and we used inverse operations to solve that. So you divide by 17, you're left with b to the third power is 27, and then you take the cube root and you get that b is 3, and then you go back and put it into your function. So if you see the rectangle that I squared off right under the table, it says f of x equals 17. That was the initial value that we saw on the table, multiplied by 3, that's the value we got for b for our factor to the x power, and that is your equation. Next one, write an equation for the function shown on the graph. On the graph, you see it goes from 0,2 to 1,6, so it doesn't skip anything. So we don't have to be taking the cube root like we did in the other one. Here it just goes directly from the first point to the second point. So we see the initial value is 2. What did we multiply by to get from 2 to 6? We multiplied by 3. So f of x equals 2 multiplied by 3 to the x power. Question 19, you deposit $1,200 in the bank. You will receive 5% interest each year. Write an equation to represent the amount of money that you have in the bank as a function of the number of years that pass. So here it is increasing. So you want to think of multiplying by a number greater than 1. You want to keep 100% of your money. You want to add 5%. So you're going to end up with 105%. So your factor is 1.05. The 1 whole of the 12 plus the 0.05 of the 1,200, which is your 5% of the 1,200. That gives you the factor of 1.05. So 1,200 times 1.05 to the x power is your function. How much money will you have in the account after 3 years? It should say 1,200 times 1.05. That's a mistake that it just says 105. It should say 1,200 times 1.05 to the third power. And that gets you, again, 1389.15. I'm not sure why the decimals did not show up on the file, but it should be 1.05 and should be $1,389.15. Question 20. Here we start off with a $40,000 value, and the value is decreasing by 15%. So you have the 100% value of your car, and we're taking away 15% of the value, so we're left with 85% of the value. And that is your factor, is times 0.85. Take 85% of the initial value. So f of x equals 40,000 times 0.85 to the x power. What will the value of the car be after 8 years? I didn't write it, but what we put into the calculator was 40,000 multiplied by 0.85 raised to the eighth power, because our input is 8. And the answer is that the car is worth $10,899.62. Again, it's missing the decimal. That's just something with the way the PDF saved. Now we had to graph the function f of x equals 2 times 4 to the x power. So initial value of 2 means you start at 2 on your graph. You double it, you end up at, not double it, 2 times 4, you multiply it by 4. 2 times 4 gets you to 8. You multiply by 4 again, and you get 32. Okay, and I also showed you how you could do it in a table. You could show initial value of 2, that's the 0.02. And then as you go from point to point, x goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. We're multiplying by 4. 2 times 4 gets us an output of 8. 8 times 4 gets us an output of 32. 32 times 4, I didn't write it, but that would be an output of 128. And with that, we just ran through this entire study guide in 13 minutes. So go back, pause the video by any questions you needed more explanation for. Feel free to email me if you want help. I'm also available tomorrow. I stay after school on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So if you don't feel comfortable after you take the test, you feel like you needed more help, you could stay after school and I could help you make up whatever parts you feel like you need more help with and get those questions answered on your test. Okay, have a wonderful day.